it's hard to know how many people there are in our camp at the moment, how many people can actually offer up equal criticism or equal praise of politicians and policies regardless of where they've come from, and how many of us are, by contrast, utterly married to one political flag, that we can't contemplate the possibility that the other side might come up with some good ideas, or that our own side might occasionally throw up a wrong un, or an issue that is deserving of condemnation. I'm going to think a little bit more about that. I hope you will as well. I don't know how we do it. How do we find out? Because it's a bit like Matthew Parris in the Times, who's a former Conservative MP, very old school Conservative, but who at the moment is writing columns with which I don't think I could agree more. Peter Hitchens in the Mail on Sunday. Historically, we're politically very different, but I'm nodding along to some of his stuff these days, much more than I am to some of the commentators who are more traditionally left-wing. And I don't know how you do this. They talk about forming a centrist party. I don't think that's going to happen. But quite how do we get the knack of speaking both to, for and about people who, to coin a phrase that has become something of a catchphrase on this programme, people who believe that there's no point having a mind if you never change it. Funnily enough, and I do, for me, it all boils down to sort of Brexit and Trump-flavoured rhetoric and propaganda. Even yesterday, I'm such an anorak. Even yesterday, I wanted to look into something about the World War III claim, because when you point out to people the calumnies issued by the cheerleaders for Brexit, and the predictions are all coming true now. Everything I told you would happen is happening. I told you they'd start pretending that they voted all along to be poorer, swearing blind in the days after the referendum that we'd be better off. Of course we're going to be better off. Now saying that they knew all along we'd be poorer. All, you know, the stuff about the Irish border, all of that for another day. But when you point out all of the deliberate lies, I think, is it 126 million pounds a week are subs to the European Union? There's a piece in The Independent today, not 350, but none of that matters, because what they usually come back and say, yeah, well, the other side lied too. What about World War III? And I thought, yeah, I'm going to look into that, because that World War III thing went round the world, really, before the truth had its trousers on. Or rather, it got so much coverage and it remains such an article of faith for people. It must be true. So I tried to find the bit where David Cameron said that there would be a risk of World War III breaking out if we voted to leave the European Union. And the speech that it is attached to, this claim, the only war it mentioned was the Napoleonic Wars. What he said was that it is very, very difficult not to conclude that the peace that Europe, mainland Europe in particular, has enjoyed in the last sort of 40, 50 years is probably linked to the union between European countries. So he just said that peace and stability could be compromised by a decision to leave the European Union. That's it. You can look it up, or just, it's on my Twitter. Later that same day, Boris Johnson stood up and said that David Cameron had warned about World War III. It was not true. But even I, as someone who's neck deep in this sort of stuff on a daily basis, had kind of given that on a free pass. Even I sort of thought, well, there must be something in it. David Cameron phoned the Andrew Marr programme, I think, on BBC One. I missed this. I'm usually still in bed or at church. He phoned the Andrew Marr programme on BBC One when the World War III came up, to clarify that he'd never said it. He said, it's in Hansard, in the House of Commons, the words World War III have never passed my lips with regard to the European Union referendum. Now, leave or remain, or somewhere in the middle, how many of us, and I'm guilty, how many of us have just learnt that for the first time? The World War III thing, with Boris Johnson's lie, not David Cameron's. So when sort of, you know, extreme Brexiteers start shouting about, it doesn't matter that our side lied, it doesn't matter that our side lied, it doesn't matter that our side lied because the other side lied too. What about World War III? They're actually citing a lie told by Boris Johnson, who lied when he said that David Cameron had warned about World War III breaking out if we leave the European Union. That's what's that? Where are we now? August? That's well over a year after the referendum came in, and still learning about the scale of deceit and the scale of deception that has sort of been sweeping the country ever since. Just putting that out there, because I thought you'd want to know. You can double check. It's not there. It's quite incredible. Never said it. The lie about World War III came from the Leave side, not the Remain side, and yet the Leave side continued to cite it as evidence that the Remain side lied too. Quite remarkable.